Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a little bit of a different thing. I'm going to do a tutorial on how I made the doll stand for my Aquarius doll. To get started, what you're going to need is a 5-inch round wood disc. I got mine at my local craft store. The doll that you're planning on using, a doll stand, a clear plastic stick. I'm using part of a Monster High stand, some UV resin and a UV light, the container that you're going to have the doll hold, the paint that you're going to use for the base. Then I also used the hot glue gun and a drill and a craft knife, which I did not show. So the first thing you're going to want to do is plan out how you're going to want everything situated. In this case, I am sticking the doll stand on and then using the stick to kind of see where everything should be positioned. Once you have everything positioned where you like it, you want to trace over those parts with a pencil, and then we're going to drill a hole where the stick goes. You want the hole to be deep enough so that the whole bottom will be covered, but it'll sit flush with the wooden disc. For this, I used my power drill, and those are the 2 drill bits I used. I do not have them with me now, but it will depend on how big a circumference you need to drill, what drill bits that you will need to use. I'm also going to cut off the little notches because I don't need them to secure the stand in place. I also took my craft knife and created the little notch so that protrudes out. For this particular stand, there's a little notch that protrudes out, and it's a little bit too thick to cut with a craft knife, so I just left it in there and created a notch to help it fit all the way down. Like I said, it should be flush, so I used some force to make sure that it went all the way through. And once you're drilling, do not drill the hole all the way through your base. That won't be good because you want to use some glue to secure it later. Now, this is the trick that you're going to use to make it seem like the water is pouring out of your vase. Since this is plastic, it can be melted. I'm using my hairdryer to, I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning, but you use a hairdryer on the hottest setting to melt the plastic stand. Now, I'm using, like I said, a Monster High doll stand, but I was thinking about it, and you could possibly use like one of those plastic straws, the reusable ones, to do this. But it does have to be clear, and it does have to be plastic for it to be able to bend, but it also has to be sturdy enough to hold up the container or vase that you're going to use. I kind of heat it up in sections. I don't want it to get too hot all at once, so I kind of heat it up, then bend it, then try to see how I want it. And in the end, this is how I've got it worked out, and I make sure that it's low enough so that it looks like the doll is holding the vase and the water is pouring out. Now, the stick actually works as a stand for the vase, but with the techniques that we use, it will look like it's water. So to secure your vase to the stand, use hot glue. My glue gun is very hot. It's like a really intense hot glue gun. I don't think you need one that intense. Actually, I think that one was too hot for me. I didn't like it at all. It was really bad. I couldn't even touch it. It was too hot and it took too long to dry, but I digress. You want to make sure you get enough hot glue in there to really stabilize it, because that's going to be the foundation for this particular stand. So you want to make sure that you get the hot glue inside and that the glue dries with the container looking like it's pouring out. Once it's dry, you want to make sure that you then glue your plastic stick to the actual base. And this is why you don't want to drill a hole all the way through the base. You just want it to be deep enough to cover the bottom portion to make sure that it's flush, but not all the way through. Like I said, this is the foundation for the whole thing, so if you don't have that situated, then it's not going to hold up. Once the glue is dry, it's now time to reposition. Sometimes when you're going through things mess up. Like in my case, I think I put the notch in the incorrect place, so my lines were wrong. So I erased those lines and made new lines. These lines I draw on there to help me for when I glue the stand back on. I want to make sure that it's in the correct place to make her hand placements make sense when she stands next to the vase there. So for this particular vase, I got these off of AliExpress, I think, which is a China-based manufacturing situation. So I just wanted to make sure the hot glue was in all the points that are actually going to touch the wooden base. With it all glued on, again, that hot glue gun is very hot. I could barely touch the plastic pieces. Like, I'm seriously burning my fingers right now. See it? Those are my fingers on fire. But I just want to make sure that it's absolutely secure. And with it secure, I know that my doll won't fall over or it won't fall apart when I start adding our effects or our paint. For this base, I decided to use this Martha Stewart soft gel watercolor. The paint actually turned out really pretty, but when you kind of squeeze it out, it looks really gross. I don't know if that's just because it's a gel or because I don't use the paint very much, but any acrylic paint will do. The only thing is, if you are painting on plastic, know that you should probably paint in light coats and lots of coats. I think I did about 3 coats on that base. Now, in the first base that I did, I used my acrylic gouache and it went on a lot better. But in the end, the results are the same. I just used several coats of the regular acrylic, and it is a cheaper paint that I'm using this time around. But that's just to show you that really, if you take your time with the materials you have, you can have the same result. Now there you can see I've painted the entire base. I didn't paint the bottom, but even the plastic piece looks flawless. It doesn't look like there's anything on it. I didn't paint the top because I didn't have anything to seal it with, and I didn't think that it would stay without scratching, because I know I'm going to cover the bottom with some UV resin. The next tip I have for you is to get some of this plastic coated freezer paper. You could also use wax paper, but because we're going to be working with the UV resin, I don't want my base to stick to my desk. So the plastic coating really helps keep it from sticking. Now, this is the fun part. I got this UV resin on Amazon. And I also got that UV light from Amazon. It was a 2-pack. All of the materials that I have that I know I got from Amazon or you can procure online, I'm going to go ahead and list in the description box below so that you guys can get your hands on these same materials. But the whole part of this process to make it look like it's water is to get it to drip out of the vase. So here I am squeezing the resin. And while it's falling, from the vase, I then quickly take my UV light and stop the drips in their tracks with the light. Now I went ahead and did a freeze frame so that you can see the tiny droplet that I froze there. Just by putting the UV light on it, it freezes and cures the resin right where it's standing. So if you do this enough times, as you'll see, it'll start to look like water. And because it's clear, it gives that effect like it's dripping water. Now, another tip is, the UV resin cures when UV light hits it. So a couple of times I had a close call where I'm pouring the resin out of the bottle and I have the UV light really close. I want to be fast, but not too fast, because I don't want to cure the resin to the tip. That won't help anybody. So just make sure you're aware. It is in a light, fast situation. It's in a light, fast bottle. But if you put the UV light directly into the opening, it's probably not going to end up good. So again, you want to be fast, but not too fast. And as you can see, I'm trying to get the drips as they're falling down, so it looks like the water is flowing out of the vase. I also want to mention, while we're watching me do this, I got this idea from another YouTube video because I wanted this effect and I didn't know how it was going to get it. And I saw that Bentley House Minis, it's another YouTube channel, she was doing a antique water fountain for her Addams Family home for a 12 scale dollhouse that she's making. And I'm going to link that video down below because she has some other tips and tricks if you're trying to do other water effects. If you're trying to, you want to make something like this, but maybe not exactly like this. I'm going to go ahead and link that down below because that's where I got the inspiration for this, using some other techniques that I knew about with other crafts, and that I kind of put this whole thing together. So I want to give you guys the best chance to make the thing that you want to make the most. So I will link that video down below. Now here I have it all completed as far as the running water. You can see I kind of pulled it at the bottom because I want it to look like it's flowing into the water. And what I'm going to do to kind of finish it up is put resin all on the base so that it looks like, I wanted to make it look like she's standing in like a pool of water. And I was thinking about this while I was editing the video that, you could add some other kinds of accessories or little points of interest. Like if she was standing in a river, could there be rocks? You could also make it look like the water is rushing by using some clear glue. There's so many things that you can do to give it that water effect. Now, this is a dumb thing I did. You see how I'm just squirting all of this UV resin on here at the same. This is bad. I am going to put a disclaimer. I know nothing about UV resin other than it cures when you use a UV light. To avoid getting bubbles, I think the best thing to do is to do it in sections, like do just the top and then try to do the bottom. If you are a UV resin expert, please let me know in the description below and tell me how to do that better, but that's just what I did for that one. Here are the two stands right next to each other. I learned a lot from the first stand. I think the base is too big, that's why I went to a 5-inch base. I also used hot glue to see, would that give me a different effect? And it does. Hot glue actually is not clear. It dries kind of like, I don't know, cloudy, whereas the UV resin is clear. So you can see the difference at the top of the one. There's kind of like cloudy water at the top, and in this one everything is clear, and obviously there's more water pooled around the bottom. If for some reason your resin is still sticky, it's probably because it didn't cure long enough, and that's another tip I have. Make sure you're curing it as much as possible before you go on to the next strips. But if it is still sticky, if you stick it in the window on a sunny day for a few hours, it should help that situation. So here we are. The stand is all finished. Let's look at the final photos. I wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching all my videos, commenting on my videos. We're at 100 subscribers, which is crazy to me. I'm so grateful, and I just want to give you a very big thank you. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, which is more of a tutorial, please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what I can fix. Subscribe if you like what you see, like if you liked this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching.